So you've got yourself out there, you've got the information, you know how to stack deals, and then all of a sudden you get a yes. What do you do apart from panic? Hi everybody, and welcome to Journey of a Property Investor. Today I am your host, Dave Guest, and I'm joined by co-host Mike Turner.
Hello.
So today, before we get started, Mike, shall we have a look at the Agony Uncle section? So don't forget, folks, this is where if you leave a comment below in the videos where you've got a question you want us to answer, please leave it below and we'll try and get it answered for you in a future episode.
We'll give it a go.
Well, absolutely. So today's question, this is from Juan Romero. Wow, what a brilliant name. He's one of our PIN members.
Is he a professional footballer?
You could absolutely be a professional footballer. Is it still worth doing buy-to-let? So I think this is a good question. And do you know what? I don't think they're on their own by asking this question. You've only got to look at the media for 5 minutes, haven't you, really? And landlords are exiting in vast numbers and stuff like that. So I do get where it's... And do you know what? Right. When I first got into property, it was about 2009. I remember my mum and other people saying, should you be going into property now? Because the whole news round there was so bad. It was the best and easiest time to buy a house.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Mike, do you think it's still worth getting into buy-to-let? And by buy-to-let, should we open that up to like not just like single lets, but this is the whole rental market in property?
Okay, yeah. Let's rephrase the question. Is it a good time to invest in property? Buy-to-let is a subsection of property investing, and I think the fact that the question is being asked to me says that yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you may well be aware of the famous Warren Buffett quote, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And it's not just Juan in this situation, but there are a lot of people out there that are uncertain. They're not sure. And for me, that creates opportunity where other people are not informed or they don't understand the market and the strategies and things that they can do and the tools that they might have available to them and the knowledge and the expertise to actually be able to take advantage of market volatility and market changes. One thing is for sure that markets are going to go up and down all the time. But do you want to buy when the market's going up or do you want to buy when the market's going down? Well, for me, I want to buy when the deal is right.
Yep.
And so if it makes money on the day that I buy it and it cash flows well and I've got it at a good price and I've got a good interest rate and I'm happy with it, then, it doesn't matter what happens in the short term for me. But the fact that there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of changes in the market, it means that there's opportunities. There's a lot of people that are wanting to get out of the market as well.
Yeah.
So is it a good time to invest in property? Personally, I would say absolutely yes. But it's not a time to be an amateur property investor.
Completely agree. And actually, I'd argue it's never time to be a great... So all you're going to do is buy something bad, aren't you, and regret it?
Well, I say that in context of back in the day, you mentioned 2009, people were buying properties. They didn't really know what they were doing. They weren't informed investors. They weren't sophisticated investors. They just knew that if they bought a house, they're going to make money from it and it would go up. And the rents and the interest rates were such that they could make a profit and it was fine. Gone are those days. Interest rates are now far more of a consideration when investing in property.
Yeah.
Because, and I suppose maybe somewhere where this question is coming from, with the cost of properties and the interest rates and the rental values, margins are squeezed heavily. And so that's why I say buy-to-let is a subsection, because there are other cash flowing strategies that will, pay a lot more money on rental properties. There's lots more strategies. You've got HMOs, you've got short-term lets and furnished holiday let serviced accommodation. You've got supported social housing. And there's all these different things that are providing different opportunities for well-informed investors. And so what I say is it's not a good time to be an amateur. But if you're running this as a business, there is still opportunity in the market. Yeah. People are still always going to need places to live. So as long as you're informed and you understand what you're doing and you can mitigate the risks, if you're taking steps in the right direction, you're investing sensibly, I think you're setting and running up your business professionally, you're using the right advisors and the right power team.
Absolutely.
Then I actually think that now is a great time.
When we was last with Rob McFun, he said, there's no better time to be doing property than right now, but you have to be doing property right now.
Exactly.
Which falls in line with that.
Yes, perfect.
So brilliant. Thanks, Mike. Juan, I hope that answered your question. We both believe it's the right time to be in property now, but just doing it in the right way. I want to move on to, okay, so you've gone out there, you've done the research, you understand what property is. and you've just had the yes, the acceptance of a deal. I remember the first time that happened to me, and it changed everything. I mean, when I was looking at properties at first, I've told you before, I used to try and talk myself out of them because, I didn't have people around me, confidence, things like that. And I actually remember putting deals across and actually thinking in my head, I hope they say no, because it can be a terrifying thing, getting that first yes. And actually, I was just coaching someone Monday. It was when I got in touch with them and says, we've had 2 yeses.
Mhm.
And, we just unpacked all of the scary things. And I think what I want to do is just really just open that conversation up for your views and my views to share the scary stuff, because when you get that first yes or some yeses, everything gets real, doesn't it, after that point?
Yeah, of course. I've mentioned before, my first deal, I negotiated a heavy discount on a big HMO from a retiring landlord, but I didn't really know what to do next. And I tried to figure it out, and I made some wrong turns, and unfortunately, I let the landlord down because I didn't know where to go with it, and so I had to pull out of that one.
If you're being honest, and I know there's cameras here, was that because you didn't know what to do, or was it a confidence thing?
I think it was the fact that I just didn't have a clue what I was doing in the first place, which is often the fear from a lot of people. Like, they don't know what the next step is, and hopefully we can address some of those issues today. But for me, it was I'd negotiated a great property, a great discount on a great property.
Yet.
I had the valuation done, it confirmed the value that I wanted to pay for it, but I didn't quite understand how to structure that deal correctly so that I could do it as a low or no money down deal. This is, over 10 years ago now, so it was a very different mortgage market landscape and it was a different environment. But I didn't have the resources, the contacts, because I was just starting out and I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so I exhausted the options that I had, because I was just thinking, all right, well, I'd negotiated the discount. I was just going to mortgage it and use the equity or the implied equity to fund the deposit. And I was just going to mortgage it that way. But the valuation came back too low and I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I tried to sell that deal on as a below market value deal to other investors. But again, I didn't have an established network of investors or a community around me to be able to find somebody that might want the deal. And so I posted it in a few forums online, and that's probably absolutely not the right thing to do. And it just didn't work because I didn't know what options or choices there were.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember that. So the first one that I actually got a yes on, I'd looked at houses previously and I'd done that talking myself out of it thing. And then when I got a yes, I was like, it all became very real. And all of a sudden you've got another house you're responsible for. And this was something I was flipping actually, so I needed to do the work. I found it really difficult to get tradesmen round. I was just worried about getting ripped off. And because, when you're very new at something, you look new at something, don't you, really? And I was just so worried about getting ripped off that I did a lot of the work myself.
Not using the right trades words. Like jargon and buzzwords.
Yeah, it's all that stuff, innit? I ended up doing a lot of the work myself, which is just the completely and utterly wrong thing to do, because it took me months. I was going up there every night after work, every weekend.
You saved money but wasted a lot of time, right?
Yeah, but I still think it was probably out of fear that I did some of that, thinking, I can't get this wrong. So my natural default was, well, I better get up there and do it then, and I take control of it.
And what did you rent that property for in the end?
No, I sold it in the end.
You sold it, right?
Yeah, I sold it. So I bought it for 80,000, I think it was, and I spent about 15 grand doing it up. That'd be 25 now. Spent 15 grand doing it up and sold it for 115, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I made a nice profit on it. And in fact, that paid for my mastermind that I'd gone on to do. But it's not something I just got over. So doing another one of them, absolutely fine. Because I've got a few tradesmen on board then and stuff like that.
Right.
But then when I started to move on to HMOs, well, the first thing I did there was I just had it in my head that I wasn't a landlord. I don't know why that was. So I did a joint venture. And when I did the joint venture with someone, it was almost like that gave me the ability to just put the money in, but look over their shoulder. That dispelled the fears. So then I went to do a HMO, and it had to be all singing, all dancing, 6 fully ensuite, complete, £100,000 job. But that same fear came in then because it was a different level. all of a sudden, because it was such a big level of work that needed doing, you couldn't just get your plumber in to do this and then just get it was too big for that.
Yeah.
So you had to do a schedule of works.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a schedule of works was. So I found that really difficult.
I think they often say that the first deal is the hardest. And I think it's not necessarily finding and doing the deal that is the hardest, but as you say, it's everything that comes after that. It's building out those teams of trusted tradespeople, understanding what the role of a project manager is, the schedule of works and everything. And I think once you've done that you're a lot more confident that you have the contacts, or somebody that has the contacts that you can go and do that. And I think that's why, very often we talk about the importance of having the right power team in place.
Should we break that down?
Yeah, sure.
So I think the first part of the power team, would you say to your legal team then, the first part, getting the right solicitors on board?
I would actually take a step back from there and say it's probably getting the right broker on board first, right mortgage broker.
Oh, yes. Yeah, right. Let's get the broker on board first. So there's picking the right broker.
Mm-hmm.
So you want somebody who knows property inside out. And this isn't your residential broker, is it, who comes round and does your mortgage?
Absolutely not, no.
This is someone who probably has property themselves.
Yeah, you want somebody that's a property investor themselves, somebody that's educated, that understands the different strategies, the creative ways that we acquire properties, refinance them, the different strategies we have available that we use, whether they're the HMOs or serviced accommodation or supported housing. There's a lender for everything in every one, but speaking to a good broker. So when I was a broker, I used to say to people, well, you can go to all the different banks and speak to them, and that's fine. And each conversation will be an hour and a half. And you go to 5 banks and you're going to have had enough. And guess what? The bank is not going, if I go to HSBC, they're not going to advise me on NatWest products.
Yeah.
But actually, a NatWest product might be better for me than an HSBC product. Even if I bank with HSBC, the banks don't really give preferential treatment to 90% of their customers.
Yeah.
Occasionally, they'll have direct deals only. But actually speaking to a broker, it's the equivalent of speaking to, 100 plus lenders. A good broker will have over 100 lenders.
But that's an important thing to draw distinction on there. You've got to make sure that your broker's got access to all the market. So not that they're just in with this one lender and they get the best kickback off them.
Yep. And it's interesting, a lot of people say, I'm whole of market. Well, actually, yeah. To be able to say that they're whole of market, they only have to have a panel that is representative of the whole of the market. They don't actually have to have access to the whole of the market. So also, if they're going to call themselves independent, they should have a payment option where they can charge you a fee, but any procuration fee that they receive from a lender, they are supposed to rebate back to you. So it's not that they're getting a kickback from the lender. It's just that they're actually charging a fee for their advice. And many will charge a fee and also get a kickback from the lender, and they have to disclose that in their initial disclosure documents. But the importance of having a good broker that's got access to a wide range of lenders.
And make sure you ask them that question. That's the first key learning, isn't it?
Yeah, understand how they work. They should be going through their disclosure documents on the first conversation with you and explaining how they charge, how they work. And then obviously you can decide if that's right for you, and then you move forward with them. But absolutely having a good broker on board early on, that's the point, isn't it? Because if you've got equity, they can explain and explore different ways of releasing that or using that as cross charges for things like bridging, where you don't necessarily have to pull the equity out. You could just use it as collateral and take down 100% finance. And there's lots of different ways, but a good broker will.
The wrong time to look for a broker is when you get that yes.
Yeah.
That you don't want to be looking them. And the other key thing as well is tell your broker everything. You've got to make sure there's nothing clever about holding certain things back, is there?
No.
So first member of the power team, then your broker. One I'm going to throw in there as well, an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I nearly lost a deal fairly early on because someone who I was speaking to, we'd spoke for months and it was, I'd love to do that. I'd love to come on board and do that. And, we talked about rates and everything. And then it was the night before. Mm-hmm. It was either the night before or 2 nights before. I'm sure it was the night before.
It was not last night, but the night before.
Before we was going to complete.
Did he come and knock on your door?
Or exchange? No, he just rang me up. And oh my life. He rang me up and says, I've been thinking about this, and I think you ought to find somebody else for this one. I thought, someone else? We're doing it tomorrow.
Ouch, yeah.
So, make sure that you test people, that you're sure with them. So I think
it's a good lesson to have a backup as well.
Yes.
Always have a backup.
Yes. Oh, that was terrifying.
But it's interesting as well because, of course, we do a lot of networking, a lot of events, and I speak to people and they come into the event, they're all excited. I say, what is it that you're looking for? What do you want to get out of the event? Oh, well, I want to meet some investors. And I say to them, well, as a deal sourcer, have you got some deals to present to an investor? If an investor knocks on your door and says, hello, I'm here, I'm looking to invest, what have you got to show them? And this is what I tell people. I say, look, you don't need lots of investors. You just need a handful of investors.
Yep.
Also, you want to be finding what the investor's looking for as well. And so you might want to be offering different opportunities to different investors that might have different risk appetites and different.
Do you know many
goals.
seasoned property investors do not ask people what they want, investors, and just go straight in it and just, I've got an opportunity at 6% or something like that. Yeah. Rather than saying, what are you after then? Mm-hmm. How much do you want to put in? Yeah. Things like that. Yeah. So many people just going.
And what I was going to say about people coming to events is you need to be there and building relationships with people. You can't just find a deal and expect to go to somebody and sell a deal or to borrow a load of money off them, because an investor is going to sit quietly on the sidelines and observe what's going on, and people are going to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And
absolutely,
if you haven't invested the time and the energy and the effort in getting to know those people, to have a Zoom coffee, go and meet them in their town, have a conversation with them where you're talking about what you're working on and what you're looking for. So you're an investor, tell me what's of interest to you, what sort of deals excite you, what is it that you're looking to invest in? And then if I'm a deal sourcer and I've had a great conversation with somebody and a great coffee and chat, then I'm going to want to go out and find something that they're going to be interested in. And there's a much more higher probability that they will invest in me, having invested that time, that effort to build the relationship with them.
And like the broker, don't leave it until you've got a yes.
Yeah, it's too late.
Because it's too late then, isn't it?
Too late. You want to get started now, building up and getting prepared and ready so that, when you do get the yes, if you've got a broker that's already giving you multiple financing options about how you can fund a deal, if you don't have access to that, or you don't have a broker, or you don't have the funds or the resources, that's okay. At least speak to a broker. They will tell you what you need to do to get into a position, because not all people understand that with buy-to-let mortgages, it's not assessed on your individual affordability. I mean, there is an element of that, but some lenders have got no minimum income requirements. I did mortgages for clients that had £2,500 annual income that they could prove.
Mm-hmm.
And they bought 15 plus properties in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that is an important distinction, isn't it? That because it does move away from your personal situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So get your finance options lined up, speak to a broker, find out what you need to do. And actually, you can work with private investors and still use mortgage finance as well. So there's ways of doing that, and a good broker will help navigate that storm. The old cliche, property is a people's business.
Oh, completely. And I think, as you'll see across all the power team, they're all people and all very different. Who's the next, I'll say person, but I suppose job role, skill to have in that power team?
The player on the team. It's like
it's got to be conveyancing.
Think about it in a football team scenario. You need somebody in every position, and you need somebody that is good in every position. Otherwise, you've got a weakness and you've got a vulnerability, and you're probably not going to go very far.
So the next one, that's got to be your solicitor.
Yeah, I would say.
Can you use anybody? Any old solicitor? Any old conveyancing solicitor?
Well, you can, but I wouldn't.
Yeah. Where it's going to break down, if you're just doing a vanilla bread and butter straight purchase, you're probably okay. It's if you start turning around saying we want to do vendor finance or purchase lease options or anything that's more challenging or complex like that.
But even things like, I'm working with a private investor who's putting funds in, right? So a solicitor or a conveyancer is very, very important. But again, they need to be just like, not all doctors treat the same ailments and the same specialties. You've got foot doctors, eye doctors, heart doctors. They all specialize in different areas, and law is exactly the same, right? So you've got all these different areas. These lawyers specialize in different areas. What you need is a specialist conveyancer or a specialist solicitor that works and deals with the types of properties and strategies, and, build your power team of solicitors that specialize in doing some of the things that you are looking to do as an investor. So whatever your strategy is, if it is lease options, you don't want to go to your family solicitor that doesn't understand the purchase lease option, because you're going to be billed for the time, and they're going to spend loads of time learning and figuring out what it is that you're trying to do, and actually then they're going to send you a big bill and they're going to advise you not to do it because they're not comfortable with
I was
the
going to
risk
say,
as well anyway.
or worse, if they've never done it, there's been so many instances where they've just turned around and says, no, this is not legal. Or, yeah. And I think
It's a contract, of course, it's legal.
And I've been around for so many years, haven't they? And on options as well, it's not just about having one good solicitor, because, there's a second party and you want to hope that they're not using the family solicitor who just writes the wills and things like that.
Exactly.
You want to be able to offer an independent solicitor that knows options inside out, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like it's, you want to have the right solicitor on your side. If you're working with a motivated seller who wants some speed and certainty, again, you don't want them to be using somebody on the high street that doesn't understand what it is that you're trying to do. And so, obviously you can't force anybody to use a solicitor. They've got the right and the freedom of choice. But if they're motivated and you can offer them a recommended solicitor that's regulated with the SRA and they've got experience in doing these types of contracts, and there's absolutely no reason why that couldn't work by recommending somebody to the other party as well. So, and the thing with having a power team is you want multiple people within that team, right? So if your forward is injured, you've got to sub them out for another forward, right? Or you've got to have, two forwards to play off each other.
Yeah,
same sort of thing.
So that is another key member of the power team, and again in line with this being, you've had a yes. Who's the next one in the power team? Do you think?
I suppose the next one, in my mind, would depend on what the yes is for, what it is that you're looking to do with the property. So just to summarise, you've got your broker,
investor, conveyancer.
You've got your broker, you've got your investor, you've got your conveyancer. In my mind, if you're going to be doing extensions or you're going to be doing change of use or change of, residential to HMO, you might want to have a planning consultant, or you might want to have
a planning consultant. I think that's the forgotten one many times. It's always good to have one of those on your radar. If you're in an Article 4 area, for example, which as viewers are watching, this is something that relates to HMOs, and in certain areas of the country, it's not part of your permitted development. You can't just go and do a HMO. So you have to apply to the council to say, please, can I do one in this area? As soon as you go through the planning system, you have to comply with planning rules, laws, policies, things like that.
Yeah.
It's not saying, no, you cannot do a HMO. It's saying, you've got to come and ask us.
Yeah.
And to navigate that, you need to have some good expertise on board, don't you? So that they can put forward the reasons why you can have one there, if you can at all have one.
Absolutely. And whilst you were just thinking or sharing that, Dave, I was thinking actually the next person that I would have after getting a yes before the conveyancer even sometimes would be a tax accountant, a property tax accountant.
Yes.
Somebody that understands property tax, the correct structures of companies that can help you to put in place your group of companies, your structure, whatever it is that you're looking to do, and they'll have a conversation with you on what do you want to achieve long term, and what's your tax situation, and they can then advise and help you to set up your business structure so that when you're executing on a purchase and you're going through that conveyance process, and actually, let's rewind this before investors and maybe even before brokers, because your broker probably needs to know whether you're borrowing in your personal name or a limited company name as well. So I would actually put a tax accountant probably on par with a broker.
Yeah, so tell them what you're doing right at the start. Because you're right, if this is a house that you're buying and selling, you're not going to keep. An accountant would advise you to do one thing, put that in one particular type of company. Yeah. Whereas if it's for the long term, same again. That would be a different type of company.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to have, your investment company for your longer buy and holds, maybe a operating trading company for anything that's sort of more service, more transactional based. And they're all taxed in different ways. And so, I'm not an expert in the field. So, absolutely get a good property tax accountant, great mortgage broker, start sourcing and meeting and networking and finding investors from day one. And then, of course, good solicitors that understand what it is you're looking to achieve.
So the other one that I would throw into the mix here as well is to have an architect or an architect technician even. I'm thinking now if it's HMOs, if you've just got some standard floor plans, you want all the builders to work off and quote off just to get those drawn up as soon as possible. Or if there's going to be more work going on, then you need the full-blown architect to do the extensions or to help you through. But again, that's good to know from the start, if you know what you want to do with that property, having a good architect on board. Or like I say, when I've just done HMOs and you're moving the floor plans around, an architect technician can be a lot cheaper and still produce the right scale drawings that you need to give to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So the right tool for the right job, basically, the right person in the right position.
And then I think it moves into builders, doesn't it then?
Well, yes, but I would probably stop before getting to builders, and I'd want to have some insurance in place. I'd probably want an insurance broker. Now, your mortgage broker might be able to do a lot of the insurance side of things.
Yes.
But also, if you are for your business insurance, or for if your buildings, your contents, your life insurance, and all of these things, you want to make sure that every risk that can be protected is definitely protected. And a lot of them you can insure against these days.
I'm going to throw another one into the mix as well, who I would argue should be in your power team. The HMO officer.
Mm-hmm.
Invite them round to the house, either when you think that a yes is going to happen or when you've completed.
You definitely need to have a relationship with them. I don't know if I would put them on a power team, because you can't actually pay them, really, can you?
No, but I want them to be part of it. So showing them around a potential HMO. The way I see these, for sure, is this profession, not these people. That sounds terrible to me.
These officers.
Yeah, their day-to-day job probably, I would imagine, is phone calls of HMOs being running bad or tenancies with mould and things like this. If you can be the person who proactively connects with them. I've shown them around floor plans before we've started work and things like that.
Yeah.
And, we've had a couple of rooms where they were close on being towards the minimum. And, this guy was working with me, like going, well, what about if we did this or did that? And I just think it's brilliant just to do that and have them part of your team.
Yeah, it's an interesting distinction that you made there, that the HMO officer is getting calls from bad quality properties and mold and things like that. And actually what you might find is that in many councils, they're not called the HMO officer, they're actually called an environmental health officer.
Yes, they do.
Different. It's a different title, but the reason I raise that is because that raises the point that whilst they are mandated and responsible for licensing of HMOs and enforcing the licensing of those HMOs, their title is maybe not HMO officer, it's environmental health officer, and that's because they do spend a lot of their time in very poor quality accommodation, like places that you would never want to spend a night in. Unfortunately, these places do exist, and
the minute you start doing viewings of HMOs that are on the market, wow, are your eyes opened. To some, I remember looking when I used to invest in Birmingham, and literally, we've opened a door, and it has been so close to Harry Potter's bed underneath the stairs, and I couldn't believe this. There was like a chap lying in the bed. He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and the landlord was shouting. So I was thinking, this is awful. This is terrible.
I thought you were going to say you opened the door and the rubbish just fell out. I've seen some of them as well. Yeah.
Wow,
all kinds of messes.
But yes, so I do think it's good to get those, and I mean that can also, if you're in an Article 4 area as well. So in Dudley, Article 4 came in, I'm led to believe, because of antisocial behaviour. So that's good to get somebody on board like that. Then they're not going to get it through for you. I know what you're saying, but just to understand what their world's like, what goods look like, and just to show them you are different and you want to make a better type.
Absolutely. So I've had a few instances where applying for HMO licenses, the environmental health officers come over and had a great chat with him, built a good rapport, explained what it is that I'm looking to do, and they've said, okay, well, if you do this and you do that, you make these changes, then absolutely no reason why I can't grant you a license on this property.
Yeah.
And even in cases where I've done it on behalf of other landlords and done the applications for them, those properties were tired, they weren't in the best condition, but I've had they weren't licensed initially, and then the landlords, sought my help to try and get them licensed, and I've built the relationship with the environmental health officer, the HMO officer. He's come round, and I've said, look, appreciate that this is the situation, this is the property. What do we need to do in order to get this to the standard that you require in this area for the licensing? And then obviously we've got all your compliance on your HMO side, and we ticked up all those boxes. And again, just kept the communication throughout. We've done this. We're just working on this bit now. We expect that to be done in the next 2 weeks. So we'll be looking to maybe set an appointment after that and have you come round and reassess it and go from there. And it's just about keeping that communication and just being responsible, really.
Just to make things and keep things going smooth.
Yeah.
And so I think that comes lastly then to, well, no, not lastly.
Well, there's loads more, but yeah.
And this is the thing, isn't it? And this is why I think when you get the yes, it can feel very, very overwhelming on what next, because until that point, what you've been doing is understand the area, stacking the deal. It's all been spreadsheet and theoretical, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And then at the point that it's a yes, it's all of these things come flooding in.
And this is the problem with just going on a course and, getting some information.
So totally agree.
In theory, it's then you get out there and you're on your own, and a lot of this stuff you need to try and figure out yourself. And
it's like learning to swim, isn't it? If you read how to learn to swim, it's like, okay, I've got a good idea, but you actually learn when you've chucked in.
Yeah, or driving a car. You can watch videos and people teaching you how to drive a car. You can read all the books. You can pass the highway code. You get in the car,
but we learn through immersion, don't we?
Got to do it.
But I just do want to just finish. I think there's 2 more things just to wrap up on, and I think that would be like some form of letting agent that you might use. But in terms of the trades, the builders, I mean, a lot of people struggle with pricing up jobs and things like that, and how do I put a price on it? I actually think the best way here is recommendations. Speak to other people. I mean, if you take HMO conversions, don't just take somebody who hasn't done one before. Speak to other investors who've had builders do HMO conversions for them, because there's a lot that can go wrong.
100%. And I don't think that this is important to have just at the outset, because you're going to have maintenance issues. You're going to have blocked toilets. You're going to have faulty electric. In fact, I had one in my HMO this last week. There was I had to call the electrician out because the power switch for one of the electric showers wasn't working. So but I know that I've got a great electrician on hand that I can just call them up and say, look, we need to go and
so it takes that stress away.
And so you're going to need to have those. And if you've got the power team, they're going to be happy because they're going to have some regular work and you've got constant contact with them. But importantly, pay them quickly.
Pay them quickly, but hold some back at the end.
Yeah. I typically pay them once the job is done.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So pay them quickly, but then when you get towards the last stage payment, because you're going to have them snagging things, understandably, people want to move on to the next jobs and things like that. They can't always come back. You need to have something to get them to come back for.
Yeah. So on the bigger conversions and developments, and absolutely. But for maintenance issues, if he goes out and he switches the shower switch, and he sends me an invoice the next day, pay it straight away.
Otherwise,
next time I've got an issue, he's going to prioritise that. He's going to come around to my house and deal with my issue first, because he knows he's going to get paid quickly.
And then obviously having good rental lettings agents, and I think again, the whole thing there is it is about speaking to other investors. But do you know what? I think one of the themes that's run all the way through this is preparation and making sure that even before you've bought the property, what will make that yes that little less terrifying is if you're actually prepared. So, Mike, got to leave it there. Thanks for the conversation again. Really enjoyed this.
Chat, Dave,
So if you found that useful, then please follow us on Spotify and Apple, and subscribe on YouTube as well. And don't forget, if you want a question answered by me and Mike, then please leave a comment or a question in the comments below. And just remember, this isn't a destination, it's all about a journey. Thank you.